Hey folks, here are OS Reviews. Today we're watching our video review of the VSC2 HD camcorder. This is another pocket camcorder that competes with the like of the Cisco Flip series that was discontinued a few years back, and also, of course, your smartphone and your tablet with a camera that's built right on in. Now, the advantages of something like this is it's a lot more easy to use with a built-in record key, and you can basically pull it out of your pockets, power it on, and then tap on the record key, and you're ready to go. So it's great for capturing those emergency situations, or also great for capturing any parties or any special events that you want to remember. With that being said, pocket camcorders are notorious for not having too great image quality, and I think that the VSC2 doesn't really break out of that norm. The image quality is only so-so, and compared to a lot of competitors from Kodak or from Cisco, the image quality on here is not anything too spectacular at all. In fact, I think it almost falls behind its competition, which is really a shame. With that being said, you do have 720p HD resolution on this particular model, but you don't have 1080p like the Kodak ZX3 that we also reviewed. So unfortunately, it's not as crisp as it can be. Taking a look at the design first, we are fans of the overall muted look. It looks very professional in terms of the hardware, and the cost of the VSC2 HD is also very inexpensive. It retails for just under $50, which is, again, a bit of a steal if you're looking for an HD camcorder. The lens is right on top. The sides here are crafted out of stainless steel, which is nice, and the sides and also the back is made out of plastic. What I also like about this particular camera is that there is a built-in USB socket, so I can twist it out with a bit of force, and it's very similar to the Cisco Flip series because you can just directly plug into your computer for charging in addition for syncing information. So it's a nice addition that we don't tend to see a lot. On the side here, you also have access to DC input if you want to charge it via a mini USB. There's also video output via a component cable, which is kind of interesting because it says audio HD video, just because I think it's a bit misleading considering component cables don't tend to give out as high definition video signals as something like HDMI cables would. But obviously there's no HDMI port on here, which is a bit of a shame. On the right hand spine, you have access to the toggle back and forth between the macro and the micro shots. So for distant shots and landscapes, and also for close-up shots, because this is a fixed focus camera on the back. This is actually a very clever implementation because we see a lot of cameras these days, especially with pocket camcorders, that don't have the switch, and as a result macro shots are really limited. But this particular camcorder actually does a pretty good job with close-up shots as well. On the bottom, you have access to a microphone, to also a lanyard cord, and on the very back, you have access to a control set. The screen itself is 2.4 inches diagonally and also has a matte finish, which means that it's viewable even under direct sunlight, which is always a plus. Viewing angles, on the other hand, are kind of limited, but at least colors are fairly accurate and bright. Below here, you have access to a zoom bar, which is pretty interesting and easy to use. You can easily zoom in and out of your subjects. And you also have access to some navigational controls left and right. And finally, a mode menu key and also a power on/off/delete key. You have a playback key for your images and video, and also just a record/the taking image key. As far as camera goes, you can also take images, but it has a 5 megapixel sensor, just like on the Kodak ZX3, just like on a lot of Cisco devices underneath the hood. So the sensor technically is about the same as the competition is, but of course it's a lot lower than most people's smartphones these days. You also have a case that's included in the box, which is pretty nice. You also have the component cable pre-installed and also included in the box. Taking a look next at the software interface, you have access to a battery indication icon on the top right hand side. Speaking of, the battery life on this product lasted me about 2 hours before I had to recharge it. Sometimes I can get a little bit more juice as well if I'm playing back video, so that would be about 2.5 hours. So battery life is significantly longer than something like the ZX3, so this is one of the strengths of this particular camcorder. Now, down below here is where you can actually open up to have the battery, 1200 milliamp hours, pretty decent, and also a hot swappable SD card. So you can actually change it out for something larger. It supports up to 32 gigabytes, by the way. And you can see here how the 4 gigabyte card I have in here can record up to 1 hour and 37 minutes, which is quite a lot. So I'm suspecting that there's a bit of compressed technology going on here, considering on the Kodak ZX3, I couldn't get nearly as much footage from a 4 gigabyte card. With that being said, something you will notice on this design is that there is no tripod stand on the very bottom, which eliminates a huge advantage of cameras and camcorders like this in the first place, because a lot of smartphones obviously don't have access to the resolution of your video, the macro/micro mode, and also if an SD card is inserted. And finally, to start recording video, simply tap on the record key. There's actually no delay at all, so it's very fast to start recording video. The microphone on this particular camcorder is only so-so. It picks up sound decently, although it's a bit tinny and it also is a bit weak. So if you are really far away from the camcorder, it's not going to pick up your sound as well. At the same time though, the frame rates are pretty smooth and nice. So if you start moving around the camcorder, it still picks up the movement relatively smoothly, and there are no drop frames or anything like that. On the other hand, after you stop recording a clip, it needs to process for a few seconds before you can start shooting again. So there's a slight delay in that department. So we can toggle back and forth between the menu by tapping there, and you have access to recording your images or taking images and also recording video. I can also still zoom in if I want to. If I'm taking my images, you can see I can take about 3,400 with a 4GB card installed. So pretty impressive in that department. With that being said, the image quality is far more weak than the video quality is, which is acceptable considering this is a camcorder and not a digital camera, but at the same time there is no LED flash on the back for darker environments where video footage will also suffer. And video directly on the player is pretty simple. Just tap on the play key and you're brought up to this menu where you can cycle back and forth between your images and also your videos. So I can go up and down, left and right relatively easily. And then to play back something, it's a bit counterintuitive. Instead of pressing on the play key again or a mode key, you press on the record key and then you can just press again to actually start playing it. You notice that there is a speaker built in here. The speaker is a little bit tinny, so it's not going to do the best job of playing back sounds, although it is there. You can bring up the volume a bit louder, and overall we do like the fact that you can play back your clips with sound on the player without having to put it into a computer first to check out your clips. Overall, as far as image quality is concerned, also taking videos, color saturation is accurate, although it lacks a lot of fine detail. So if I zoom into my clips, despite being 720p HD resolution, sometimes I'm lacking a lot of the detail I expected to see in there, so that was a little bit disappointing. It was more comparable to something maybe with 480p resolution than 720p. With that being said, the microphone was also pretty decent. Images were fairly sharp, and colors were also very accurate. Performance is best under brighter environments, and if you're in darker environments, the performance is going to be considerably worse. But that's kind of a trend with most pocket camcorders. So we're going to give you a brief video clip right now that's actually captured in bright sunlight and show you how it looks like. So we're going to roll the tape. There's no denying that there are a few advantages of this particular camcorder. The build quality is top notch, there's a built-in USB socket for charging and syncing, the screen is decent, and also the battery life is very, very long. But with that in mind, the most important aspect of any pocket camcorder, the image and also the video quality, is also one of the weaker aspects of this particular model. So especially if you compare it with the Kodak ZX3 or some of the Cisco flip-out cameras, you will notice that there's a lot more pixelization and images are less sharp and more muted and washed out. And that's really unfortunate, again, for a camera that's also a camcorder, and that's really should be the strongest suit. With that in mind, it's also a lot less expensive, but still we would say at this quality, even though it's 720p, we would prefer actually just using our smartphone, like our Android device or an iOS device, to capture video with. And so the reason to purchase one of these, especially without a tripod stand, is really small, unless you want to give it for a kid or use it for some very special events. So anyways, although this is a nice design, overall I think that's let down by a slightly mediocre camera lens. You can check out more details in our written review, but this has been our video. Thank you for watching here at OS Reviews.